Beyond Two Souls is a story about a girl, Jodie, and her invisible friend, Aiden. In a narrative stitched together from half a dozen sci-fi and ghost stories, Quantic's latest attempt at making a pretend movie is better written than Heavy Rain, though still suffering from the choking vision of a director to whom nobody seems to ever say no. Full of scenes, for let's not call them stages or levels, that are nicely paced and sometimes evocative, the decision to present the story as a non-linear, time-skipping tale that goes back and forth between Jodie's childhood, CIA career, and life as a fugitive seems to have no active benefit to the plot. Scenes are established without a thread, thrusting Jodie from place to place with no setup and little time to grow attached to anything. It would have benefited from being told in a linear fashion, as the Tarantino non-linearity comes off as pretentious at best. Still, there are some nice climaxes and mini-plot threads, even if Beyond's best moments come in the form of non-sequiturs that have little overall relevance to the narrative at large. That's about as good a summary as I can give, without hitting the spoilers, kids. Talking about the gameplay is difficult, as that's a concept steadily eroding over the course of Quantic's career. Like Heavy Rain, most of the player's interactions involve walking from place to place, having limited decision-making in conversations, and engaging in quick-time events. For most of these, player input is optional. You can go through all the QTE segments and a lot of the dialogue without picking up the controller, and you can make it through almost anything, albeit with the odd diversion in plot that doesn't actually affect anything long term. The big change comes in the form of Aiden, who can be switched to and controlled, granting players the power to move through walls, push objects around, possess people, and generally help Jodie out. There was scope for a lot of interesting gameplay here, had Beyond actually been interested in being a game. Instead, Aiden's role is relegated to busy work. What you need to push over or spookily choke to death is clearly marked for you, and your job is to do it. Overall, the player's job in Beyond is relegated to that of enabler. You more or less humour Beyond, letting it tell you its story while half-heartedly playing along. The game does little to encourage you to fear for anybody's life, and with characters barely fleshed out and relying on tired archetypes, any input you are given feels meaningless. If you played Heavy Rain, you know what to expect from the visuals. Uncanny Valley heads attached Frankenstein-like to stiff wooden bodies. The facial animation genuinely is impressive, and there's much attention to detail in character models. The pop-up textures and sudden image freezes do, however, undo much of the illusion. Outside of the faces, the graphics just aren't really that impressive. They look pretty-ish, I guess, but that's about it. Sound-wise, at least Beyond has some decent actors lending enough credence to make up for the regularly awkward dialogue. Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe obviously lend their natural talents and give incredibly strong performances, while the backup cast are also pretty solid at their jobs. The soundtrack is also damn beautiful, and it goes a long way toward making scenes more engaging than they would have otherwise been. Beyond Two Souls is poorly structured, interactively vapid, and emotionally unrewarding. It has some genuinely interesting ideas, and some of the sequences are pretty engrossing, but they're islands of remarkability in an otherwise mediocre ocean. Quantic Dream's love of imaginative, often ludicrous ideas seem increasingly married to po-faced, alienating stories about people that are hard to like, and Beyond typifies that. It's a game that knows how to move and talk like a compelling experience, but without the ability to actually compel. Those looking for a game that makes them feel something are better off sticking to games with far fewer polygons and a lot more actual emotion. All you'll feel here is kinda bored.